Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. Today on Observe Day, as we honor National Suicide Prevention Month, we're joined by an extraordinary storyteller, someone who understands hardship, fear, despair, and the long winding. Jeffrey Barnes, known around the world as Dr. Disneyland, is a two-time brain tumor survivor, best-selling author of The Wisdom of Walt, and the only professor to ever teach an accredited university course on the history of Disneyland. But behind the Disney magic is a deeply human story, one of fear, uncertainty, vulnerability, and rebuilding his identity through purpose, imagination, and storytelling when life tried to take everything. In this episode, we'll explore how Walt Disney's philosophy, the path and power of storytelling can help people facing emotional pain, hopelessness, or moments where giving up feels easier than going on. This conversation is about staying alive long enough to see the next chapter, because like Walt himself learned, even when the story hits a dark valley, you still have the power to rewrite the ending. Welcome to the podcast, Jeffrey.
Thank you. How are you today?
It's
Awesome.
today we're talking about hope. Why do you believe storytelling, especially the Disney story, has the power to, save lives and inspire people?
As human beings, we're wired for story. And it's why we read books. It's why we keep going to the movies. For all of his success, whether it was Mickey Mouse, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, even Disneyland, Walt Disney only ever wanted to be remembered as a storyteller because that's how we connect with people. And I love Walt's story, not because it has a happily ever after ending, but because it had so much conflict. And we can learn from Walt's story. We can learn from how he handled conflict. And Walt became a hero for me when I realized, like almost all of us, he wasn't born successful, difficult childhood, more failures than successes. And that story inspired me, and now I like to tell that story so that I can help and inspire others.
You survived 2 brain tumors. I'm curious, when you got those diagnoses, what did those experiences teach you about fear, mortality, and choosing to keep going?
Ooh, yeah, those were not obviously fun days or fun experiences. The first one was right when I had just started teaching a college course on the history of Disneyland. And they wanted to operate immediately. Told me I had the weekend to get my affairs in order. They wanted me back on Tuesday for the surgery. And, best case scenario, I would still be out of work for 2 months, which would mean canceling the class and abandoning my students. Well, teaching a course on the history of Disneyland was never really about the amusement park. It was really about Walt's story and challenges and obstacles and what it takes to see your own goals and your own dreams come true. And I recognized that, being diagnosed with a brain tumor at the start of the semester was an opportunity for me to not just teach that lesson, but to literally live that lesson. And so my first thought was, no, we're going to leverage this story to do what I've always wanted to do, which was inspire and motivate others. And that's exactly what happened. I taught the course, the surgery was successful. I survived. And as a result, went on to write not just one, but 2 best-selling books, and then had a second tumor in the summer of 2020, which I don't care where you were in the world, 2020 was not a fun year, right?
Yeah.
And on top of everything else, I had to deal with a second brain tumor and a second surgery. But again, what makes a story interesting is conflict, it's
Yeah.
challenges, it's difficulties, it's obstacles. And I know I'm better as a result of that challenge. I would like to think that I help make other people better by sharing my own story and sharing my own challenges. And I'm where I am today, not because of what's been easy in my life, but because of what's been hard and the way that I've chosen to face those difficulties.
Many people feel like their story no longer matters. What would you say to someone who feels like they've reached the end?
Well, I love Walt's mindset. On the 10-year anniversary of Disneyland, He spent about 30 seconds looking back on the past and the successes and thanking everyone for helping to make the impossible possible. And then he said, if you think we're just going to rest on our laurels, forget it. We are just getting started. And, Walt had that mindset his entire life. It didn't matter whether he was getting started with his first studio in Kansas City that went bankrupt when he was only 21. It didn't matter when he lost his first successful cartoon character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. It didn't matter when Mickey Mouse was a huge success, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or even after Disneyland opened and everybody wanted to be at the happiest place on earth. Walt was
Yeah,
always looking forward and was always, having the mindset of just getting started. And so it's really about attitude and it's not about age. Age is just a number. And, Walt accomplished so much uh, because he had the courage to believe in himself, believe in his ideas, take massive action, not stay stuck in the past and keep moving forward into what he liked to refer to as his quote unquote great big beautiful tomorrow. And that's a lesson for all of us. Where we've been, i.e. the wake doesn't drive the boat. Our past doesn't
yeah.
define us. But where we're headed, that's the future. The future is what we need to remember, not the past.
Well, Walt Disney lived through bankruptcy, failure, betrayal, and depression. What do people often miss about the struggles behind the magic?
I think it's important to remember that where you are today does not define where you're going to be tomorrow. And it's a choice. Walt was born um, incredibly impoverished childhood, difficult relationship with his dad. His first studio lasted 18 months. I mean, he was bankrupt and homeless in Kansas City, Missouri in 1923. He didn't give up. He believed in himself. He boarded a train to come to California. He went all in on his goals and dreams. $40 single suitcase, one way ticket. And just because he boarded that train and went all in didn't mean everything came easy to him once he arrived in California. He
Yeah,
faced obstacle over and over and over again. And so you have to ask yourself, are you going to panic or are you going to pivot? Are you going to implode or are you going to innovate? And Walt was always pivoting. Walt was always innovating because he refused to stay stuck and he refused to live in the past.
yeah. Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation. Why is it important to show the messy parts of success stories?
Because Walt changed the world. I believe our world is a better place because of Mickey Mouse, because of the movies like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I love going to the Disney parks, whether it's Disneyland in California, which is where I live, Walt Disney World, or the international parks. And I believe every single person has an idea, a goal, a dream in their heart, in their mind that they've been called to take action on. Now, it might not change the world the way that Walt Disney did in the 20th century, but it might at least change your world, the people around you, your family, your friends, your community. You simply need the courage to take action. And so that's why I believe this message is important, is because all of us have an idea, all of us can make a difference, and all of us can change, again, not the world, but at least our world and have an impact and influence on those around us.
You said that every great story requires conflict. How does that apply when someone feels overwhelmed by life?
Well, you have to think about it like this. When you're reading a book or watching a movie, it's the conflict that makes it interesting. And if you look back, I guarantee you the things that you wish had not happened in your life made you better, helped you level up, right? And so the next time you're facing difficulty, the next time you're facing a challenge, rather than running away from it, embrace it. What I like to tell my audiences is The bigger your dragon, the better your story. And
Yeah.
so when you look at your life as a story and yourself as the chosen hero, again, you are encouraged by the conflict. You embrace the conflict rather than settling or worse, running away from it.
Walt Disney boarded a train, with $40 after losing everything. How can someone today find their version of a one-way ticket moment of courage?
Ooh, so that's gonna be different for every person. What does it look like to go all in? What does it look like to take that, big life-changing risk? What does it look like for you to board the train, $40 single suitcase, one-way ticket? I think it means giving it your all. I think it means taking massive, immediate, decisive action and not caring about the results and not caring about what other people think. This is your idea. This is your goal. This is your dream. It matters to you. You believe at the end of the day it's going to matter to other people, and you're going to do it no matter what because
Yeah,
it's not just what you believe, but it's how hard you believe it. And Walt believed in himself and he believed in Mickey Mouse. He believed in Disneyland. It said when he was building that park, he did not have a friend in the world because they all thought it was going to be bankrupt, shuttered, and forgotten in 6 months or less. He took action anyway. And so when you think about where you are versus where you want to be, having the courage to take action, just one single step toward that better future, tells everybody around you that you're not going to stand still and you're not going to stay stuck in the past.
yeah, yeah. The Disneyland is built on imagination. How
Yes,
can imagination help someone see a future beyond their pain?
great question. So, Albert Einstein once said, knowledge is limited, imagination is everything. And if you stop to think about it, everything that's changed our world is a byproduct not of money, not of power, but of thinking. It's a byproduct of imagination. And so Walt had a vision for how he wanted to change animation. He had a vision for how he wanted to change storytelling in full length movie making. And he had a vision for how he wanted to change the amusement park industry. So, for your listeners, you've got to challenge yourself to genuinely imagine and dream and envision a better future, your goals, your dreams, your success coming true, and not just think about it, but feel the emotion that comes with that. Because again, imagination is unlimited, and you start changing your life and your world with your thinking, and then your emotions and everything else follows.
Yeah. You talk about becoming the hero in your own story. What does heroism look like when getting out of bed is the victory?
Well, I have those days too, right? Where I'm still here. I'm out of bed. I made it to the kitchen and
Yeah,
got that first cup of coffee. Yeah, I think you have to reflect and appreciate not just where you're going, but where you are. I just did a presentation a couple of days ago on how gratitude is your gateway drug. So many people are taking various substances to change how they feel, right? And sometimes those aren't good substances.
yeah,
Well, if you want to change how you feel, start with gratitude. Start by being thankful. Start by appreciating who you already are and what you already have because you get more of whatever you choose to focus on. And so if you want to have more things to be grateful for, be more grateful, be more thankful. And if you want to be the hero in your own story, you have to recognize that wow, I've made it this far and I'm not perfect. I have made mistakes, but we're not going to stay stuck there. We're doing the best we can today. We're going to do the best we can tomorrow. And sometimes just putting one foot in front of the other is a victory. And give yourself
yeah,
credit for that.
yeah. That's true. Putting one foot in front of the other, it's victory. Sometimes you just need to keep moving.
It's true. And Walt suffered from bouts of depression, and there were times when he wasn't sure what to do next or if he wanted to do anything again, but he got through it.
Yeah,
And And so I think that's the other, like, recognize you're human, right? Your emotions don't define you, but they are a part of the human experience. And as much as we want to think that, it's about us and we're terminally unique, no, feeling that on any given day is what millions of people on the planet are feeling. Now the question is, what are you going to do about it?
For someone who is struggling silently, what do you want them to hear directly from you?
Action. The biggest difference between Walt Disney and anyone listening to us today is he took action. He didn't just think about what he wanted. He didn't just talk about what he wanted. He took action. And a lot of us want to wait for the perfect moment before we take action. A lot of us want to wait until, we've been validated or we've got the support or our friends and family agree. No, 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 no. Take action and the rest will follow.
Yeah,
Get out of your head. And I tell folks all the time, you can always overthink. You can almost never overact. So get out of your head, one foot in front of the other, take action, massive decisive action, see what follows, and notice how different your life is in a week, a month, or 90 days from now.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for that advice. Jeff, how can listeners connect with your work, books, and talks if they want more inspiration?
So you can find me at thewisdomofwalt.com. And I would encourage anyone who's listening to us to sign up for my free weekly Wednesdays with Walt blog. It'll come to your email directly every single Wednesday. It's 100% free. You get stories about Walt Disney, stories about Disneyland, Walt Disney World, other Disney parks throughout the world, and you'll get encouragement and inspiration that'll change your life, your world, and your story.
Wow, thank you so much. I'll put the links in the description so listeners can click and
Perfect.
go directly to this. Thank you, Jeffrey. It's been
Awesome.
quite inspiring chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.